permission to speak. Shadows hide you. I am listening. Our paths converge.
So good to see you.
Hail to you. Never lose hope.
Here, Fred Shaft.
I hear you. It has only begun. Fight on, friend.
Welcome to episode 437 of Concede, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. It is Thursday, March 7th, 2024 in the evening. Coming to you from Nomergon, Ohio, it's me, Edelweiss. From North Rend, Massachusetts, we have WickedGood.
Hi.
From Teldrassil, California, we have Magesa.
Hello.
And from all around the world, we have you, dear listeners. As always, thank you for your reviews. If you would like to support the show, but cannot do so monetarily, please consider leaving us a 5-star review on your podcast feed of choice. So, Life and Ladder, I guess I'll start, given I missed last week. It was kind of fun to, listen to the show again. I haven't done that in quite some time. The reason was less fun, which is I finally determined that I am not immune and caught COVID. It took many years, but finally caught up with me.
It comes for us all sooner or later.
Yeah. We have hit a point where people were saying, if you have a respiratory thing, it's COVID, right? This variant's so contagious. So, and I haven't seen a more positive test in my life. It was really yep, that's 2 lines. No doubt about it. No faint line. Oh, does it? Yeah, no, it was quite positive. So I'm not sure if I'm testing negative yet. I'll check again tomorrow, but I am at the sort of 10 days mark where they're sort of at this point, you can technically go about your business again. I've still been, masked when I go grocery shopping and things. Seems like the ethical thing to do, but yeah, I feel a lot better. And last week there was just a point where I was hacking up a lung in the middle of the night. It was really, really rough. I get to a point where it's very hard for me to sleep because I'm coughing so much, and unless I can sort of fall asleep sitting up, which mitigates it. But once it gets going, it's just this vicious cycle, and so I ended up having to take NyQuil, and that finally knocked me out. But so I'm happy to be back to talk about some cards. I did notice it was shorter though, having only 2 people talking about the cards. So we'll see.
Not by that much, honestly, not by that much.
And I was like, we're going to keep moving. I'm putting my teacher hat on. This class is ending. We're going to, yeah.
And I was the ADHD student in the corner saying, no, we're not. So
yeah, in terms of ladder, honestly, I've been playing this other card game called Queen's Blood, which is inside Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So,
oh, geez,
that's been my card games. Done some dailies here and there. I checked out the Twist this time around. Played some Patron Warrior and something else, but of course by now the Twist has changed because more sets have been added, so that one's kind of hard to keep up with. Very cool idea, but I think it does, I don't know, without having a couple days on each of them, it's just oh god, what are we doing today? So
it is kind of interesting how it's an alternate timeline of what if we never had a standard rotation, and also what if we never nerf Patron Warrior? Because they nerfed Patron Warrior before, I think it was after TGT came out, but before Worlds that year, and so we never got to see what it would have been like if it had made it all the way through into Old Gods, which is kind of interesting. I don't think it's good enough right now, but it's interesting seeing what the world would have been like if that had happened.
I did play the Patron Warrior like on the first day that you could play it, and then try to play it like yesterday, and it wasn't working as well. I switched to your Anyfin Paladin, which I'm sure you will talk more about, but did very well with that. And I'll mention that more. I'll let you introduce that deck. I've definitely been enjoying this twist season more, even though it's kind of fun because I remember these cards, but I don't remember the meta decks because that's not what I was doing. I did run into, like, no one told me that there would be a time travel component to this in like a literal sense, and that I ran into someone running a deck that I would have run back then. It had like, it's hard running the silence. Hold on, I took a picture.
I mean, silence was legitimately a card we would hard run back then.
Yeah, it was like Mind Vision, where they got my Anyfin off the Mind Vision.
No.
But didn't seem to know how to use it. Like, they didn't seem to know that it would work for them. Psychic Conjurer, they had a Doomsayer, Museum Curator, Thoughtsteal, Youthful Brewmaster, which they used along with Shadow Madness. So they Shadow Madness my Acolyte.
Wow.
And then Brewmastered it into their hand. And I'm like, really? All my draw, I got to see their entire deck, because all of my draw and my Murkai were at the bottom of my deck, except for this one Acolyte of Pain that they stole with the Brewmaster. So I got to see a lot of this deck. There was an Azure Drake. They entombed my other Acolyte of Pain, which was a choice. They basically just sat there and slowly stole everything, but didn't kill me, like a priest.
That was 2015 Priest. Yeah, that sure was. That
I was
like today is Old Gods. Old Gods is when the Unicorn Priest meme started, because Ben Brode had said, well, maybe there's a Unicorn Priest that nobody's discovered yet. Spoiler alert, there wasn't.
We still haven't discovered it using those cards of that time. We'll get to Unicorns and Priest, actually. But it was very fun to face that deck. And, I was sitting there not panicking, going like, well, they're at high health, but I'm at high health. And I will get my Murkai eventually. I did also face a warrior who managed to burn one card of mine by attacking into my Acolyte of Pain for full, which is like never a problem, except when you burn the exactly the Anyfin. And I did have another one, but at that point I was like, it was not going to be like one Anyfin was not going to be enough damage. I needed.
I guess a warrior you usually need two.
Yeah. So, but very fun. In Standard, could not buy a win. Just no. Played some Mage, played some Paladin, and mostly just ran into warriors. I think it's as much me as anything, though, because I've just been having a lot of work going on, a lot of classwork going on, trying to get all of that done before it's as much as possible done. Obviously, there's always work to do, but trying to get as much as possible done before the expansion so that I can really focus on that. And I've been spending a lot of time following the reveals, of course, which is really fun. And I got to play Patron Warrior. That's my last thing. I enjoyed playing Patron Warrior. I think I did mention that, actually. I messed up the combo the first time and won anyway, and then I'm like, oh, okay. This deck is great. It survived me not understanding how to execute it.
When you misplay and kill them anyway, that's when you know the deck is broken. Yeah. Well, so Maureen and Twin B went on a French class trip to Canada this weekend. So I was basically on my own with the other two, who more or less just stay in their rooms all the time. Like, oldest is into Final Fantasy 14 and just raids all weekend now. And Twin A is basically just does whatever they do on the iPad and kind of comes down for meals, whatever. So I had to get up at like 5 o'clock in the morning to get them to the school so that they could drive, because we're in Massachusetts, right? You can drive to Montreal. So they get on the bus and they take the bus up to Montreal, but they had to leave at like 5 in the morning, which meant I had to get up at 5 in the morning to drive them over there. So I had gotten permission to like log out of work early on Friday. And so I make fun at Deck Tech every so often. I mean, I think he wants people to, because he posts tweets whenever his wife leaves him alone for the day of like horrible things that he's making, like a peanut butter and pickle sandwich or whatever, you know, and just like how he just kind of devolves into goblin mode whenever his wife's not around. And I thought that I was a more evolved species than that, and I discovered that I was not. Not in a food sense. Food was good. We got like Thai food Friday night, and then we had some really good barbecue with my parents Saturday night. But I logged out of work early and kind of crashed on the couch, and then I'm like, well, I need to something like brainless to put on television. So I'm looking around, because like I don't ever really pick what to watch. Like I just kind of watch whatever Maureen or one of the kids is watching. I don't ever really kind of say, well, what do I want to watch? Like that doesn't really happen. Just because I don't really care. Like I just will watch whatever they're watching. So I started flipping through, and I ended up landing on Jersey Shore Family Vacation. And I got like hardcore invested in Jersey Shore Family Vacation. Like binged it this weekend. Like, and that's when I realized like I am not actually any more evolved than Deck Tech. I just have my different vices that I devolve into a puddle of plasma goo when Maureen's not around. So but that did give me some time to climb to legend. I had said last week that I hadn't figured out the Mage deck. I mostly figured it out this weekend, because Friday was the first day of the month. So I decided, well, whatever, this is the time I'm going to do it. And turns out you draw Energy Shaper, and then you win. And when you don't draw Energy Shaper, then you lose. Or you queue into a warrior and you lose either way. That's basically how it goes. I probably have stories I've forgotten about them because they all just kind of blend together into one like melange of nonsense. But I got up to like, I don't know, like Diamond 2 on 11x, because I got 11x again this month. I got up to like Diamond 2, and then it just kind of like, I was running into too many warriors. And then I looked on HS Replay. I'm like, well, what beats warrior? Okay, Plague DK, not doing that. All right, well, then if I can't beat them, then I'll join them. So I ended up picking a Highlander warrior, which effectively also loses to every other warrior, but beats everything else. So I kind of like laid on my back and let the tide take me into legend with it. Like my final boss fittingly was against another Highlander warrior, and that one I was able to win. But otherwise, I just kind of like beat everything else because I just ran them out of stuff, and then I lost to the other warriors because they were faster than me. That's fine. But
you didn't want to join Fury Hunter and I on the Miracle Rogue train?
No, I super didn't. I super did not.
It beats
That's
warrior.
the last thing I want to. No, I don't care. The cure is worse than the disease.
It was fun watching your final boss warrior mirror. I haven't played a ton of warriors, so I'm like, is this how that mirror always goes? Because it's just like, I get a bunch of armor and a bunch of attack and hit you for half of your health.
Yes.
I gain an equal amount of armor back and hit you back for half of your health. And then we're like chipping down like 3 health, 2 health, maybe a little more. Oh, we healed back up. I was like, this is stupid.
It's just like every movie where you have 2 dumb jocks just like punching each other. They stumble back to the wall, and then they recover and then punch the other one, and they stumble back to the wall until one person drops. That's basically what it is.
It did make entertaining viewing. I will say that.
But I played Twist after that. I did play the Patron Warrior that night. Uber happened to be in my chat after Tic Tac was nice enough to raid me and had given me a Patron Warrior deck to try, and I did okay with it. It's kind of cool with Twist. I know, and I like I said on Twitter, this is not going to hit the same for everyone, because not everyone has been playing as long as like I have. But like there are a lot of decks in like GVG, TGT, around this time that like I wanted to play but didn't have the cards for. And like by the time that I could have gotten the cards for Patron Warrior, it got nerfed. So I never really got to play. I got to play against it a little bit and like never really knew what was happening or how to beat it, but I never got to play with it. So this was a fun chance to do that. And then a couple days later, it was Anyfin Paladin Day. And I played Anyfin Paladin in one of the other Twist seasons, but that was kind of like a modified version with Caverns of Time. I wanted to play like the original, like 5 Murlocs and just a bunch of like dumb Paladin control tools. And I've lost like one game with it. Which was today at lunch. I played to Sanku. I know is in the Vicious Syndicate Discord. I think he hangs out in our Discord occasionally too. Was playing Old God's Temple Warrior, if you remember, Adel.
Oh, I remember.
I didn't see a Malkarok, but there was definitely an Alex Strauss's champion played at one point.
What about a Varian Rin?
The game didn't go that long to get to Varian Rin. I was dead long before that. But it's fun. It's been fun because you beat almost everything else because you just have like a lot of removal, and then eventually you just play your fish and then hit them in the face for 30, or the second one for 30 if the first one isn't enough. But it's extra interesting in the mirror because you need to kind of play around both. Does my opponent have anything, and also do they know that anything counts Murlocs on both sides of the board? Because I'm pretty sure the one mirror that I played against my opponent did not, and then I bursted them down for 30 with some of their Murlocs, and I don't think they were quite prepared for it because they only had 2 cards left in their deck, so they were like waiting for one Murloc to have their full combo, and I don't think they realized that all the other Murlocs were going to count, and all of a sudden I got them for exactly 30, and then the game was over. But it's like I also like because you can't go first. You can't be the first one. You can't be the first one to anything unless you're also the last one to anything, because the anything crackback is brutal, and you're going to die if you're not actually killing them. So it's like I didn't actually do the math, but I just said, okay, this feels like enough because they're going to anything me sooner or later anyway. So I may as well just get it out of the way, and it just happened to be enough. But
yeah, that is also a very silly mirror. But most of the mirrors that I ran into a few. Because those seemed to be pretty popular. They often were like a secret hybrid thing. Just clear their
that's
stuff.
That's a bad idea.
And then heal up. And then they also played some Murlocs, which just made my anyfin faster. So I'm like, thanks for making my anyfin faster. So,
yeah, that's something that people think is a good idea, that they'll put secrets in their deck because the Mysterious Challenger is going to draw those out, and then you have anything to theoretically like finish the game if that's not enough. But you may as well just like commit to the bit, I think. I
feel like that was something that stemmed from the earlier twist where you could do 40 cards. And I don't know, maybe some people just thought they'd try and make it work in this one. But
yeah,
we do actually have a little bit of like news and then a teensy bit of tournaments to discuss before we move on to our card talk. So, Wicked, why don't you take us away?
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop.
So a couple of quick news items, nothing too impactful. Well, one of them maybe, but reminder that Community Day is going to be on Monday, March 11th. That is the actual 10th anniversary of Hearthstone. So there will be Twitch drops active for all participating Hearthstone streamers. And there will be 10 drops throughout the day. We have not yet, as of we are recording, seen what those drops are yet, but I imagine by the time that you are hearing this, those will have been published. If you go to like the Play Hearthstone Twitter or go to like look at Ridiculous Hat's Twitter feed, I'm sure you'll see it by that point. But there will be things that you will want, is what we have been assured. There will be, and you basically just like sit in a Twitch stream and you'll get them. I will definitely be streaming. I think Magesa, we're going to try to co-op for part of the time is what we were saying. And
definitely, yeah.
And Edel, I don't know if you're planning on streaming or not, or if you're up to it on that day, or well, I guess you have to have like childcare in order to do that, right? So
yeah, I'm already asking my mom to cover on Wednesday, so I can't really do Monday as well.
So we can all hang out on my stream then, I guess. But so twitch.tv/WickedGoodFM is my stream on Monday. That'll be at 7 p.m. Eastern. And I might go a little later. I'm working from home next week for reasons. So So, go make sure to connect your BattleNet account to your Twitch account if you have not already, and you may want to just double check that it is connected because sometimes they dissociate. So you don't want to be sitting in the stream because because it's only for 24 hours. You want to make sure that that's connected when you first start watching, so you make sure to get credit for everything. There was an announcement that Hearthstone is now available on GeForce Now, which is the game streaming service. If that is something that you subscribe to and you want to play Hearthstone streaming off of a super fancy computer rather than playing on your laptop, you do you. That's an option for you. We got an announcement from Celestalon today that there have been another wave of bot bans. So another 85,000 accounts were actioned for botting. So hopefully that will help. We've been hearing that the bots have been picking up again after the initial huge wave that they did, I think, last month. So they're continuing to take action and continuing to address the bot situation. They're not going to tell us what they're doing or how they're tracking them, because then that helps the bot people figure out what to avoid. So they're going to be intentionally vague, but they are going to tell us when they get rid of them. So hopefully you will notice a difference on ladder and be running into fewer bots along the way. And we had a shop update. There wasn't too much in there except for one particular item for which we need to play the economy bumper.
Time is money, friend!
So we got the Hearth to Hearth bundle. And the Hearth to Hearth bundle includes is $40 USD or 4,000 runestones. It contains 5 Badlands packs, a diamond copy of Hearthstone Brew, and a golden copy of Hearthstone Brew. One will notice that that's kind of redundant because you can only put one of them in your deck. And that has been a sentiment that has been expressed on corners of the internet where such things are expressed. And I mean, it does, on the one hand, it's, a way to finish that out. On the other hand, very often when they've given us an uncraftable legendary, there's been some sort of way to earn the golden or the diamond. And I think there was an expectation that the diamond would be something that you would buy and the golden would be something you would earn because it's an anniversary celebration. And that I think, I'm not going to speak for everyone on, who's angry on the internet, but I think that kind of left a sour taste in some folks' mouth. So, that is what it is.
So in particular, I think the fact that we get the gifts, the other, the non-legendaries, the gift cards, golden through this event, would think some people would have liked to see Golden Hearth sort of at the end of the track, maybe, given that we got the regular version for free. And additionally, there was a previous bundle that was like a diamond bundle that I think went for $25 or thereabouts.
Yeah, there have been more than one previous diamond bundle that were the same, except no golden card, and were $25 USD. So $15 more USD for a redundant golden card does
so
feel like a lot.
Yeah.
I think there was kind of a disconnect there where, some of the things I've gotten are that like, well, no, it's more like the Diamond Hearth is $40 and the other stuff is kind of bonus, but it's really hard for people not to feel like the Diamond Hearth is $25 like the other diamonds have been, and the golden is another $15, but I don't really want both of these.
Right.
And I can like kind of see the logic as like, oh, well, we're giving you this with the diamond so that you're still getting the dust, right? Because the diamonds are uncraftable or diamonds are uncraftable. It's signatures that are craftable.
Signatures are also uncraftable, but the signatures are dustable. I believe the diamonds are not dustable. No, I don't know if the diamonds are dustable or not, actually.
I don't think so.
Yeah, these are granted cards anyway, so I don't think you can dust them.
Anyway, so it's just become this whole mess where there's a lot of like, one side feeling things are being valued one way and players kind of doing the value estimations a different way. And honestly, it's really hard not to look negatively on it when you look at past precedent of the cost of diamond bundles as being $25. And now if you want either the diamond or the golden hearth, you're looking at a $40 price tag. That feels terrible.
Yeah, in general, I think having, some of the cosmetic bundles have felt pretty expensive. I'll usually stick to like a $10 hero portrait here and there if I enjoy the hero portrait. And I know some people, maybe that wouldn't be worth it. In general, having extra whale monetization options makes sense. But once you anchor a price for people at one price, that's really hard to shift that higher, and doesn't really help that much to shift it higher with some, with like, but you get the extra gold, and therefore gives the perception of like, and we're making you pay $15 for the golden. And I do think Hearthstone is the kind of game where people who are collectors for every single type of cosmetic kind of know what they're in for, and that is very pricey. But to have that go up, can't feel good. And there are more people who really like to get goldens of lots of things. And Hearth is somebody that, it's a card that gives you a full hand of cards. So it's a particularly cool one to get golden. So the fact that it gates for people who like golden as well as people who want diamonds and six, I can see why that would be frustrating for many people.
And this is a first world problem, but there are also people who have been playing a long time who like to have their whole deck golden, so they have a golden coin, right? And the fact that the only way to get the golden is also by buying the diamond, which they may or may not want. And also, by the way, it's $40. Is that's I'm not saying that's like if this is the problem that you have, like we can argue whether that's something that is a large concern or not. But I mean, $40 is a lot for any sort of a cosmetic. Period. I mean, the signature bundles that we're having are $50, and those also feel pretty expensive. And we've seen brouhahas about like $40 skins in Pokemon Unite and stuff like that. The one thing I do want to point out, just I want to make sure to say this, is that the designers have no input into these things. There's a separate business team that handles these discussions. Please don't yell at the designers. I'm just gonna say, I mean, in general, don't, because they are lovely people who are just trying to make a good game, but they have absolutely no input into like the pricing and the bundles that are put out there. It's by a completely different monetization team that is completely separated for them. So please don't. If you want to express your frustration, that's one thing, but don't express your frustration at them because they had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. As someone who like saw that when they finally sold like the Sif signature and looked at the price and thought about it, and I'm like, I paid more than that to get the Sif by like just getting the signature bundles and stuff. I absolutely would have paid to get specifically signature Sif. Like, it's not about the price, it's about the perceived change, right? Because it feels like you're not getting the appropriate value.
Yeah. And the fact that for people who just want the golden, who generally have not had to buy expensive bundles for goldens, that's also frustrating. But I think mainly it is the perceived change. I do personally feel like I would probably spend more if the SIG bundles were cheaper. As it is, I'm like, I really love that signature Rodin, but I can't really justify $50 for a card that I'm not sure I'm going to be playing, even if it's in that I already own and can play with if I want to, even though it's really cool art. But also, people differ in how they feel about that.
Sif had the double whammy of the signature was gorgeous and the regular art to me was just like not
great.
Especially golden was like worse.
And it's a super fun card to play that you know you're playing.
Yeah.
I want to note as well that in the client, if you go to missing and look at like Diamond Hearth, it says event obtainable by purchasing in the shop. The golden one, it just says event.
So that's something that some people might have looked at too.
But you can't craft it, right? Normally you'd be able to like upgrade or craft a golden. The fact that you cannot. So, and a lot more people are into, goldens than premiums like diamond or signature. So that, I think, just kind of adds extra sort of insult to injury here.
Yeah. I will point out that, like, I was able to buy a print, like an 8.5 by 11 print of the signature Sif art and a frame for less than the bundle to get the card in the shop.
Oh yeah,
but
absolutely. From the artist.
But also I just ripped open a signature Sif on launch day. So, I that's my privilege. So
we should keep a tally of how many episodes in a row has WickedGood mentioned that he got a signature Sif on launch day.
It's this is like back in the old days of the Angry Chicken when Garrett got Legend for the first time and then spent the next episode saying, as a Legend player, for the rest of the episode. One last bit of news that we have is that Theorycrafting is going to be on Wednesday, March 13th, not May, March 13th. And we are going to be participating again. So Edel's going to be casting, theory casting once again, and then Magesa and I are going to be doing a co-op once again, starting at 6 p.m. Eastern, going till midnight or whenever we fall asleep on stream or get tired of playing Priest, whichever comes first. And Edel, what are the times for the theory casting stream on that day?
I believe it's going to be the same as last time, so something around noon to, I forget if it was 6 or 8 Eastern.
I think it was 8 last year because you got at least a little bit into the second half streams.
Right, exactly. It was determined that going noon to midnight was a little too long, particularly the other folks being over in EU. So noon to 8. Good long time to cover a range of decks, and then it means I get to sneak on with the account afterwards and play until midnight.
or just get on the call with us and then play with us after the stream ends.
Yeah.
We'll try to get our Priest out of the way, although I can't promise we'll be done with Priest.
Don't say things you can't take back.
I mean, Raza Priest is going to be pretty lit, so I can at least agree to Raza Priest.
All right, we'll save that one.
Anyway, I think we've said enough on that, but we actually have some tournament news that we should talk about. So we get to play that bumper, so let's do that.
It's the Grand Tournament!
So the first tournament is actually just a viewing experience, not a participate in experience. And there's going to be a Women's Month lobby Battlegrounds event, and Sway posted about it. It seems to be an invitational. I'm not positive of who is it's Serial for Me is the one organizing it, from Brazil, and there's a total of 8 participants, the organizer herself, and then people from around the world. We've got Alo Koala, Cecilia, Nidelpa, Swebe, of course, Tekka VT, Zeltica, and Natty7. So you may or may not know some of these names, but of course we here at the show are big fans of Swebe, so we'll be rooting for her. And if you've been lamenting the fact that Lobby Legends is no more, then here at least is a Women's Month event that you can watch, get a little bit of that competitive Battlegrounds viewing experience back.
Yeah, and Serial for Me is a sweetheart too.
Oh,
she was sharing her candy with us at BlizzCon. She's a delight.
Yeah,
I mean, you don't have to share your candy with us for me to think that you're a delight, but I'm just saying that's
traditional Brazilian sweets. They're very good.
Yes.
And then the other event that we have here is Battle of the Discords 2 is a community tournament that's happening. So it's going to be a conquest tournament where individuals compete while representing their favorite Hearthstone server, which we hope is us. But there will also be, THL and VS and others. So it's going to be happening on March 23rd for the Swiss rounds, and then the 24th for the top 16, right after the expansion launch. So you'll get to come up with those decks quick as you can and try them out in some real conquest gameplay, which is, hard to come by these days. So you can register up until the morning of the 23rd. It's going to begin at 11, or registration ends at 11 a.m. Eastern. And all experience levels are welcome. There's going to be expansion packs and standard packs courtesy of Blizzard as prizes for the top 4. So you can go over to our Discord, discord.concede.com, look in the announcements for details, and check it out if you want to represent CoinConcede. But we have delayed long enough. I think we really got to get started talking about these cards. We're not going to do every card. We're going to do, look at the class as a whole and try not to...
For most of the classes.
Nitty-gritty. Yeah, for most of them. Oh, you're fine. In before we give Priest as much time as everything else combined.
As Yag intended.
All right, so we have 7 classes that have been revealed since we last recorded. So we are going to try to keep some pace while going through these, and we were just going to go through them in the order that they were revealed. By the time that you're listening to this, unless you're in the stream, they're probably, there will definitely have been even more revealed. But we will be talking about the ones through Thursday, the 7th. So the first one is Paladin. They have a sort of keyword synergy, especially Divine Shield theme, and a lot of auras. Not so much a lot of new auras, but cards that synergize with auras. So the new aura, for example, is Crafter's Aura, 7 mana holy spell. At the end of your turn, summon a random 6-cost minion. Lasts 3 turns. And we have a tutor for Divine Shield minions and auras, Trinket Artist. Again, the artists draw cards. The 3 mana 2/3 Battlecry, draw a Divine Shield minion and an aura. Cardboard Golem is a 4/4 that increases the duration of auras in your hand, deck, and battlefield by 1. I do think having auras last for 4 turns instead of 3 turns, you have more opportunity to recover a board and attack with the Crusader aura or the Lifesteal aura. Whereas if you, right now as it is, if you play the aura without something on the board and then you get something on the board and then it's cleared, you just never get to use the aura.
Yeah. And worth mentioning, the card has to have the word aura in the name in order for it to count as an aura. There are other cards that, the locations from Descent of Dragons, for instance, that last X turns, or you have Starlight Groove and Love Everlasting. Those don't count. It actually has to have the word aura in the name of the card in order to count for any of the cards that interact with auras.
And honestly, Cardboard Golem with just Crafter's Aura is nuts. Getting a 6-drop for 3 turns is a lot of stats. I mean, you can low roll and such, but we've seen from pre-nerfed creation, the Fell Mage Warlock card.
Chaos Creation. But that always rolls Bran, so I don't know why this is a good card.
Well, the odds that you're going to roll Bran 3 times pretty low. And even in the fail states, if you've got a Deputization aura going on at the same time, then you're just always having a minion with +3 attack and lifesteal that it just summons at the end of the turn, regardless of what other stuff you're doing. So you can clear the board, and then end of the turn, you summon a 6-cost minion that has +3 attack and lifesteal. So I I'm really high on this aura stuff. I don't know if it's going to be like a control paladin or mid-range paladin or what, but I feel like at some point this has got to see some use just because of the value. I mean, it's like the locations, how you accrue value over more uses. This crafter's aura, just like assuming you can survive long enough to get those additional stats, that's just a ton. And getting 1, potentially 2 additional 6 drops because of Cardboard Golem.
Yeah, well, and Paladin so much wants to just stick something on the board, and this gives you another free 6 drop, not free for the first one, but an extra 6 drop at the end of every turn. They do have an opportunity to clear it because that's at the end of the turn, but if you have the Deputization Aura, and it's just another thing they have to clear every turn to keep your board clear.
As you say, you just need to stick one thing, and then you Shroomscavate and kill them.
I'm very worried. Thankfully, we don't have it in this set. I'm very concerned with some of the throwbacks that we've seen that they're thinking about a mysterious challenger for auras in the mini set. With everything that they're doing, because that seems like the kind of thing they might think about, and I hope they're not going to do that.
Crafter's Aura makes me think they won't, because the previous auras were all relatively inexpensive. Crafter's Aura, to cheat that out, I mean, maybe they will, but like the amount of mana that you're cheating out with Mysterious Challenger is a little different than if you had a Mysterious Challenger for auras.
8-drop or something for it to play your auras from the deck.
Yeah, it would have to be more expensive than any given aura that you're pulling with it. There's also a significant theme of keywords. So the marquee here is Pipsy Painthoof, legendary 7-mana 4/4 Death Rattle. Do note this is a Death Rattle. It is not a battle cry. Death Rattle, summon a random Divine Shield, Rush, and Taunt minion from your deck.
So normally and kind of in general, I do think it really sucks that this is a Death Rattle, but we do still have Festival of Legends location Dance Floor, which has occasionally seen some play, and I think is what makes a card like this remotely possible, right? Because you can play it, immediately rush it in, activate the Death Rattle, and then summon those things, get another rush minion because, it summons a rush minion. So normally I would be like, without this being a battle cry, it's pretty useless, but as long as we do have Dance Floor, I think it has potential.
I mean, a bunch of the Festival of Legends cards work well with this, right? Because like Kangor Dancing King and Lead Dancer are also both really good with this, because I guess it's not going to work with Lead Dancer because Lead Dancer is also for attack, so it's not going to summon Pipsy, but certainly Kangor Dancing King can summon it. And if there's a lot of buffs in the set, so if you can buff Lead Dancer once, then you can pull Pipsy out. So,
well, or even just the fact that it can summon the big Anoyo Lord, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Anoyo Troop, yeah.
And there's Living Horizon, Jitterbug, Ziliax.
Yeah.
You could
Funk
build
Fin.
the Ziliax. The Stone Dragon, even. There's lots of cards that you can hit with this, and then we got buffs for Divine Shield minions, Fancy Packaging. It's a 1-mana spell, give a minion with Divine Shield +2/+3. We still have Spotlight, which I think I was like the only person to ever play, and World 8.
But that was going to break the meta. That was going to be the card that everybody was going to be afraid of when it launched.
All Divine Shields from Flash Sale, summon a 1/2 mech with Divine Shield and Taunt, give your minions +1/+2. We have lots of Divine Shields now. We're tutoring our Divine Shields. We have a Tigress plushie miniature with Divine Shield. And then we get a 5/5. When you did get that off, it was very powerful. It was just you didn't always get it off. But I could see there maybe being something with just a lot of Divine Shields. Cool Ghoul sticks around forever. If you want something to land a Shroomscavate on, like that card, they have to kill it 4 times, basically.
Quick question about miniaturize that I didn't catch previously. So if you recruit Tiger's plushie out,
you don't
of
get
Pipsy,
the mini.
You don't.
Yeah,
So
mini
it's like a
is
battle
like
cry.
mana thirst. So
Yeah.
it's not technically a battle cry for effects like Bran, but it only happens when played.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, you really don't want
Yeah.
Tiger's plushie in a deck with Pipsy. I mean, maybe it's fine, but probably you're just doing big stuff with Pipsy. That's kind of a.
I mean, you might want it just to get, make sure you're getting hits on it, right? Because like that counts for 2 of the 3. Oh no,
Well-
it's just 1, 2 of 3. Yeah, Divine Shield and Rush, right? So like, if you want to make sure that you're getting 3 minions to get summoned, that's going to count for whichever one you don't have otherwise, aside from taunt. So,
I'm not sure it's going to be hard to fulfill when you've got like Ziliax and the Inoyo troop.
Yeah, Noyo Troop has got two of those tags also. So
yeah, these are definitely different decks. I think the sort of Divine Shield Swarm sort of build where maybe we're trying to do like Crusader's aura or something with the auras, and then I think there's something different with we're trying to do a big Paladin because all those big Paladin stuff will still be around, and that's the one where Pipsy feels like she potentially really shines, and you have like a big Ziliax. You could have your Ziliax shuffle itself so that you're always going to have a Ziliax.
If you go perfect module shuffle, right, then you've got a 4/3, OG Ziliax that always shuffles in, so you're always going to be able to recruit it. Not terrible.
Not terrible if that's a problem that you have, or you could add like there's lots of ways to build the Ziliax, of course. With the perfect module. But yeah, if you're worried about not having something to pull out, then that'll mean you always have something to pull out. But yeah, I'm definitely excited to play with this. We even had a little bit of hand buff with the weapon Painter's Virtue, Lifesteal. After your hero attacks, give minions in your hand +1/+1. It's a 2/3 4-mana weapon. So there's lots of stuff going on in this Paladin set. I feel like Paladin often doesn't get as much respect from people, but I always enjoy Paladin. So I'm looking forward to it. And we have multiple directions to go here. In general, the sets, I think, have been feeling like there's clearly cards that are meant to work together, but the packages are not necessarily super obvious in terms of how we're supposed to build them. And I like that about this set so far, that every class has felt like a puzzle to some extent, for the most part.
They're not just like, here, mechs, here, Nagas, right? which we kind of had with some of the previous ones that people complained about. There's a lot more depth to some of these, perhaps too much in a couple of classes. I don't really know what Mage is doing.
I don't think Mage knows what Mage is doing either, but we'll get there. But yeah, it seems like we have like a package, and then just like, here are some random cards that are decent tools to be able to build around, because like, which is kind of, I think, the way that people like, you need to give some packages to give both a theme to the set and also like some direction for people to deck build. But also, I think there's some folks that just kind of want some additional tools for things that they already know how to build to try to enhance those. And that doesn't always work when everything's part of a package. So it's a good mix this time around in general.
Having a mix also makes, if all the cards are disconnected, you don't necessarily know that there'll be enough synergy to work well. But if all the cards are just one package and then that package doesn't work, that's not great. So having a mix fits good.
One class that I am prepared to get cooking with, though, is the next one we have here, is Shaman.
Yes. So Shaman has a lot of battle cry synergy. So I think we should probably not bury the lead and start with our two marquee legendaries here. So we start with Shutterblock. So it's Shutterwalk, but he's made of blocks. 6 mana, 5/5 legendary, miniaturize, battle cry. Your next battle cry triggers 3 times, but can't damage the enemy hero. So you get that effect twice because you have the mini, or if you do some copy shenanigans with Projectionist on the mini, or even Geppetto if you're desperate on the mini, you can get it more times, but you're not doing this with Scar. Essentially, the enemy hero kind of has immune during the battle cry triggering. However, you can put buffs on your hero to attack things. You can put buffs on Leroy to attack things. Or you can do something with Hagatha the Fabled, 5 mana 4/4 legendary. Battlecry, draw 2 spells that cost 5 or more. Transform them into slimes that cast the spells. So the slimes they take on the cost of the spell. So if, for example, it was a 7 mana spell, a number that is completely random that I'm picking. If it was a 7 mana spell, it would become a 7 mana 7/7 that casts that spell like a Noggling. But unlike a Noggling, it isn't like always 1 mana. So it's not cheating the mana, it's adding a body. And it's working with Shutterblock because now casting the spell is a battle cry.
Yeah. So this is an important distinction, which I'm going to explain in a second. Does it say cast the spell, or does it take on the text from the spell's text box?
It says cast the spell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which matters.
Which matters, because the way that Shutterblocks can't damage the enemy hero works is that it looks for deal damage on the text of the battle cry. So if you have a battle cry that does something that happens to damage the enemy hero, that damage will still go, right? So if you have, let's say, I don't know, like an Amber Whelp, I know it's rotating, but I'm just like, it's the first thing that's going to come to mind, that does 3 damage, to a target, and you try to target your opponent with it, that damage will fizzle out. But if you have, in this case, a slime that says cast lightning bolt, let's say, I think, and I guess we'll have to see this in theory crafting, I think because it's doing something else that's then doing the damage, that damage will actually carry through to the enemy hero. But certainly, like, if you have a battle cry that says attack the enemy hero, right, like that will go through, because it's not, the attack will deal damage in that case for sure.
Right.
You can certainly buff your hero's attack, and there is a minion that does that in this set.
But the fact that Hagatha only draws spells that cost 5 or more is relevant in a few ways, actually. One is they gave a clear to Shaman that is reminiscent of an older clear we used to have called Volcano, except this is strictly better. It's Baking Soda Volcano. It costs 4 mana, so it won't get drawn by Hagatha, which there's reasons you wouldn't want that, which we'll get into. One is the fact that Hagatha would make it a minion, so it would damage itself, getting rid of some of the ability to clear. Yeah, it would not be good. But yeah, this deals 10 damage randomly split among all minions. Overload 1, lifesteal. This is just strictly better. This Baking Soda Volcanoes are a strict upgrade from regular volcanoes in terms of destructive capability.
Which is ironic if you think about it.
Yeah, well.
If the imagination of the child is taken into account, they make it real with their belief.
That's right.
It's the heart of the cards, is what you're saying.
And it has healing power for them to imagine their Baking Soda Volcano doing damage.
There we go. Yeah. Well, the Shaman set is all about fairy tales and stuff. So the actual big spells that we got to go with Hagatha are Once Upon a Time, 6 mana nature spells, summon a random 3-cost beast, dragon, elemental, and murloc. So that's fine, board in a box, but not really something you can do with Shutterblock because there's not enough board space, right? But at 7 mana, we have Wish Upon a Star, an arcane spell for Shaman. Give +2/+3 to all minions in your hand, deck, and battlefield. And that's where you can have just the hilarious curve of Hagatha draws your 2 Wish Upon a Stars in a deck full of mostly minions. You curve that into Shutterblock. Your next battle cry triggers 3 times, which you play the Wish Upon a Star slime that buffs everything by +2/+3.
This is like a
3
gig
times.
of bloodlust. Yeah.
Including itself.
Including itself.
Yeah.
So, will be a very, very large minion. Now, that being said, you are, for turns 5, 6, and 7, just playing stuff that is stats and doesn't do anything. So, may not.
Well, I mean, if Shutterblock lives, he gets to go face, right? Like, that's on 7 after you Wish Upon a Star.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But
And it is important to note that Shutterblock does not say your next battle cry this turn.
Yes.
So you get to just bank that for whenever you play your next battle cry. And I mean, obviously the 1 cost one is going to be a little bit easier to fit in, but even the 6 cost one, you don't need to play the next battle cry that turn. And one other thing I want to point out, because we had the conversation about Botface last week, the Shutterblock Mini is something that you can get from Botface and Warrior. Just saying.
Oh gosh.
Well,
yeah.
Perhaps a safer line of play would be to curve into Shining Sentinel, which is 7 mana, 3/7 taunt elusive, the new / old keyword, right? Can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. Battlecry, summon a copy of this. So if you activate that 3 times, you get a big ol' wall of elusive taunts to protect you until on turn 8. You can then play the miniaturized Shutterblock with Wish Upon a Star.
So you don't need to have that exact curve, and you might even be able to get one of these out sooner with the new location, Fairy Tale Forest, 3 mana, draw a Battlecry minion, it costs 1 less, and that has 2 durability. And there's just a lot of good hits with that, even if you just hit the Shining Sentinel with that's 6 mana. There's another thing that I thought you might be able to do with the Shutterblock. If you get Inza with the Shutterblock, then just like every Overload card you have is free, basically. So you can turn the tides with a Horn of the Windlord or something. You can, on the turn that you play Inza after the Shutterblock, you can clear their board. You can Zapper and hit them with things. You can also get Wind Fury with the Sand Dart Elemental, which is a new 4 mana 4/4 elemental with miniaturize and Battlecry. Give your hero +1 attack and Wind Fury this turn. So that could be 3 attack if you Shutterblock it. And it's another way to get Wind Fury. So
you don't get Mega Wind Fury.
You do not get Mega Wind Fury, no.
We're losing Criminal lineup, right? That was an Athria card.
We are. That was an Athria,
Okay.
yeah.
We are losing Criminal lineup. We are losing Bioluminescence.
Thank
Otherwise,
goodness.
that would be crazy. With
the Insa triple, that would be.
Yeah,
and we are losing some of the direct damage. We do get Pop-Up Book, which is just like a little early defense tool. 1 mana nature spell, deal 2 damage, summon 2 0/1 frogs with taunt. Since we were losing some of the other spells that were similar to that, and we're losing the fish in Shaman. But
yeah,
I think Shaman will be just fine with this set. And Baking Soda Volcano. Who needs fish when you have a Baking Soda Volcano?
Well, and Pop-Up Book, if you think about your opponent plays the most aggressive thing possible, they do a Flame Imp or Miracle Salesman turn 1, and you go Pop-Up Book. And they're like, great, the next 2 minions I play have to hit these dorky little O1s. Like,
yeah, Pop-Up Book on 1 going second is nutty. And later in the game it's not as great, but just as a early defensive tool for then a big spike Battlecry deck, it seems really solid.
Yeah, and it's a good card for Lightning Reflexes or something like that, where it's 1 mana, so that you're able to fit that into Lightning Reflexes and be able to get the other spell out of it, and then it just kind of does a little something for you. So there's other uses, even if you're not necessarily putting it in your deck, though you can. It's something that you could very reasonably consider including in a deck.
Yeah. So many, you can get Wish Upon. I'm just looking at all the Discord exploded with people just listing Battlecry minions or things that you can buff. We can get an Alec here with triple Wish Upon a Star. We can get tons, Abusive Sergeant on Leroy. Son of Hodier just gets us a million 8/8s. That's probably not what we're doing, but we could do it.
It's never Son of Hodier. I'm sorry. It's never Son of Hodier.
Turns out every Battlecry minion is a lot better when it happens
3 times.
3 times.
Who would have thought?
But that doesn't mean that it's now better than but they do scale so that the ones that were already better are still better when they happen 3 times, most of them. So I'm really excited to play with this set.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to get around to it.
I don't even know what I'm going to play on day. Well, actually, I do know what I'm going to play on day 1. I'm going to play Priest. But then after that, I don't know what I'm going to play second because there's many options.
Well, Mad at Arms, I think, is dying in anticipation of the next class we're going to talk about.
So we have Warlock, which has a tabletop games theme. And this includes Game Master Nemzi. The signature art for her, by the way, is just like the evil DM laugh while she's like throwing dice that have ones on them in your face. It's very good.
And it's the same artist who did Signature Sif, by the way. So
it is.
Yeah.
Cora posted on Twitter, an important question we asked ourselves early on in the Whizbang workshop design process was, which Hearthstone character has the most punchable face? Anyway, here's Nemzi. So Game Master Nemzi is a 5-mana 3/6 legendary battlecry, draw a demon, death rattle, swap places with it. So it's kind of a Kangor-ish, but it only happens once, not just like infinite times with demons. And we
doesn't it? If you keep playing it, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
You keep doing it.
You keep getting the battle cries. You do have to draw them out. So as long as you have demons in your deck, Nemzi will replace herself. Thank you. And we do have a number of demon-themed additional cards. Now, most of the big demons that were in core rotated out, but we still have Doomguard. So
that's enough, really. That's plenty.
There's also Morag Drillfist, Waste Remover, and we have a couple new demons in this set. Wretched Queen is an 8-mana 4/4 taunt, death rattle, summon 2 4/6 knights with taunt. There's also a cheap demon, 3-mana 5/6 Malefic Rook, battlecry, attack your hero. So you take 5.
Don't play that with the shutter block effect, kids. That's not a good idea.
Not a good idea. And then there's lots of things that synergize with demons. So Crane Game is a 9-mana spell that will summon copies of 2 demons in your deck. Tabletop Role Player has miniaturized battlecry, give a friendly demon +2 attack and immune this turn. There's a 2-mana shadow spell, Endgame, resurrect your last demon that died. So you can get a lot of Doomguards, basically.
Yeah. Curse Campaign 2, I mean, it doesn't say demon on it, but Curse Campaign, 3-mana shadow spell, give a friendly minion death rattle, summon 2 copies of this minion that are dormant for 2 turns. So that's another way to get more Doomguards and kind of look at your opponent menacingly while they sit waiting to wake up. I mean, Reno is a card, but Reno is 1 card, and you can run 2 copies of Curse Campaign. So,
yeah, you can tutor Curse Campaign or Endgame with Sketch Artist. Battlecry, draw a shadow spell, get a temporary copy of it. So you have the regular copy will stay, the temporary copy goes away at the end of the turn. But that way you can resurrect 2 Doomguards on the turn for 1 Endgame, or get 4 dormant Doomguards after your opponent has Reno'd, or if your opponent does not have Reno. There's also a handlock card with Table Flip, which just has excellent art. 10 mana, deal 3 damage to all enemy minions, cost 1 less for each other card in your hand. That's also a shadow spell. So we have a little board clear there for our handlock. But it was a little interesting. At first I'm looking at this going, but all the big demons just went, what are we doing? And then someone said Doomguard. Actually, someone said you spelled Doomguard wrong. Typo. When
Yeah. I'm a little happy that Doomguard is back for sure, but it does give me Q-Block vibes. Yeah. That's a little spooky.
And we've got Ravenous Kraken in standard. So
not quite the same, but
it's
yeah.
It's not quite cube block. It's whatever half a cube is. It's like an empty box. I don't know.
One thing to note so the Cursed Campaign summons base copies. So like, don't get super clever and do the Cursed Campaign on the Game Master Nemzi and then expect that that's going to like give you extra demons somehow, because it won't.
Yep.
It will give you more Nemzis, but those Nemzis won't do anything when they die. So, but you can do Cursed Campaign on the thing that Nemzi summons. There's a little bit of anti-synergy with Sargeras because Sargeras is a demon, and if you don't play Sargeras, you won't get the portal, and if you don't get the portal, Sargeras is pretty useless.
Yeah, I think they really don't want Sargeras being cheated out. That's
Yeah.
They've learned that. There's no Sargeras getting cheated out, so definitely not something you really want to play together, and something to keep in mind while you're building your decks, for sure. So, but yeah, it does have some cube luck vibes. It seems like the kind of deck that if it's really good will get nerfed, but I hope it's at least playable. It seems fun to be cheating lots of Doom Guards and attacking people with them, or other demons, but probably mostly Doom Guards. You're probably playing a few other demons just to make sure you have hits for stuff. Like the Wretched Queen keeps you alive while you're setting up your Doom Guards. It's probably the idea. So yeah, I love the flavor. I love the flavor on all of the cards, but as a D&D enjoyer, I was pleased to see them. And although trying to imagine Nemzi as the DM is just nightmare fuel. It's like the point of the DM is not actually to be against the players in real D&D, because as the god of the world, you can do anything. So you do actually have to secretly be on the side of your players, although many DMs enjoy just a little bit of Schadenfreude. So if it's too easy, it's not good either.
Nemzi's more like Tiny Tina from Tiny Tina's Wonderland, the Borderlands game. Like that's more like what she strikes me as.
Just designs every encounter. You're like, oh man, I got this cool new thing for my character. So then specifically the next encounter, they're immune to whatever you just got for your character. And then every encounter for the rest of the game is like that. Like, you got magic missile, every single opponent will have shield from now on. Which occasionally I have forced my DM to do stuff like that when I get a little too power gamey and come up with something broken. And he's like, I am not a computer. I can adjust to your power gaming breaking things by changing the rules of the game if necessary so that it still works. And I'm like, darn.
This is why you save that stuff for Baldur's Gate.
Exactly.
Well, in addition to the demons in Warlock, there are also a couple of demons in the so-named Demon Hunter.
Sports demons.
Sports demons?
I guess. They're all sports themed, so...
It's kind of a weird theme set because there's like a sports theme, but then we also have these little like Warhammer-esque figurines, and then we also have the coolest card in the set in a sense.
Yes. The coolest card of the set so far.
So far, that's true. We haven't actually seen the whole rest of the set yet. So, well, since we just talked about demons, we can start with Magtheridon Unreleased. Is a 8-mana 12/12 mech demon, dormant for 2 turns, while dormant, deal 3 damage to all enemies at the end of your turn.
This is the one you were talking about. It's the coolest, right?
No.
No?
No.
It's going to be so great.
It is pretty cool.
It is pretty cool, though. It is pretty cool. Yeah. And you can tutor it with Umpire's Grasp, a 3-mana 3/2 weapon, death rattle, draw a demon, and reduce its cost by 2. You can make it dormant again with red card, 1 mana, make a minion go dormant for 2 turns so that you continue to get your, at the end of every turn, deal 3 damage to all enemies.
Yeah, that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, that's what you're really doing. You can discover it through Blind Box, get 2 random demons or outcasts, discover them instead for 2 mana. So, but I feel like you want to be drawing it with Umpire's Grasp to make it cheaper. And then you just, unless they reno it, have clears for days and they will never play anything. I mean, as someone who played Overheal, if you get the injured healer out, or the injured hauler out, even in the mid game, or like a bit later, and then you just keep it healed up, a board-based deck will never hurt you again. Like, they just concede.
Yeah. But this is that. I mean, even turn 6 is kind of late-ish for that.
Yeah, but there's other tools that the Demon Hunter can use to stem the tide until then. What I think is just going to be a very specific 4-set thing that we'll see, how likely you're able to get this rolling. But, while you've got a small pool of demons to discover from, you can do things like, okay, you bait out the Reno with the 1 Magtheridon that's actually in your deck. And then you get more from things like Blind Box, any other ways you can discover demons.
There's Window Shopper, 5 mana, 6/5 demon, miniaturize battlecry, discover a demon, set its stats and cost to this minions. That gets you a cheaper one.
Yeah. And then, it wakes up, and this is probably going too far, but you cover artist, and when you make a copy of something that has dormant, it starts dormant, which normally is a bad thing. But in this case, you would have your woken up 12/12 mech demon, and then a new one that's a copy that continues the deal 3 to everything effect.
Which goes face, very importantly.
Yes. Yeah, all enemies, not all enemy minions. Yeah, and you could dry scale Deputy to get more red cards. And
it is Mograine Plus.
Yes.
Imagine how much better Mograine would have been if it did this.
Oh god, no, I don't want to imagine. Thank you. I do like them Demon Hunter probably got the most throwbacks in this set because they got the Spellstone, which we already saw on reveal day, but they also got a Rostakon's Rumble Spirit of the team, 2 mana, 0/3 undead, stealth for 1 turn. Your hero has +2 attack on your turn. Not sure that a Rostakon's Rumble Spirit is what anybody was asking for, but but they are getting one. So,
but this is like the best one.
It's better than any of the ones in Rostakon's Rumble for the most part. Yeah.
I mean, we've been playing the 0 mana +3 attack shuffle card whose name is escaping me, just to have 0 mana way to attack things.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Oh, Dispose of Evidence, you mean?
Dispose of Evidence, yeah, just to be able to have that attack on your turn for free. So having that with Spirit of the Team, which reminds me, is Illidari Inquisitor still around?
Yes, it is.
That's another demon that you can be discovering.
Yeah, and I will take it back. It's better than most of the Rostakon's Rumble Spirits, except for Spirit of the Shark, which was stupid. So
well, yeah, I mean that one was very specific in its use cases, right? Doubling battle cries is always something silly, but I think baseline, like this isn't having the high highs of Spirit of the Shark, but it is on average just way better because you get an immediate use on 2 mana. You get +2 attack that you can use right away. And assuming they don't have a thing that clears stealth, you get 2 attack on the following turn as well. So even if you consider it as like a spell that you get to use this turn and next turn for +2 attack.
It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you force them to have to throw 3 damage into it or a clear. Or you're just going to keep doing this. So and then that works well with Inquisitor. That works well with just kind of everything that Demon Hunter wants to do. And we also have they have some clears. Workshop Mishap, 4 mana, deal 5 damage to a minion. Excess damages both neighbors. Outcast gain lifesteal. It's a new fell spell. Ball Hog is a 4 mana 3/3 Quillbore. Lifesteal, Battlecry, and Death Rattle deal 3 damage to the lowest health enemy. But the card that I'm excited about is CCG, as in computer card game, but not spelled that way. 4 mana, 4/4 legendary, Death Rattle, get 3 random first edition Demon Hunter cards in mint condition. So yes, that means you are getting unnerfed day 1 Ashes of Outlands cards. Now, it's not nearly as scary as it sounds because there's a fairly large pool of these, so you're not like guaranteed to get a crazy Ultravus thing going, but you can get an unnerfed Skull of Dudan, you can get an unnerfed Ultravus, Twin Slice. There are quite a few cards that, and as someone who missed all these cards, it's like Uncanny Valley, but better instead of worse. I'm like looking at all these cards like, these numbers are wrong. That's really good.
Yeah, I'm guessing this actually won't be that great, but it is really cool.
Yeah, I think it probably won't be that great because you don't really know what you're getting. There's a large pool of cards and they don't all do the same thing.
You don't know what you're getting. They're not always going to be in the right position, in terms of outcast stuff, and everything has kind of a 4 mana tax that you have to play this Death Rattle minion first.
Yeah, and she's Death Rattle, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not,
But it's very cool.
It
but
is
it's very cool. And the name is very cool. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to play her, even though it probably is maybe not the strongest thing. If we ever get a Highlander Demon Hunter off the ground,
Yeah.
that
That's
seems
the
like
use
the most
case.
likely place for her.
Yeah.
Because a lot of those things do damage, or a way to, and a Highlander card, deck is going to have space for this. So
Yeah. I mean, you have Imprison Antian, which does 10 when it wakes up. And yeah, it's there's a lot of it's kind of amazing when you look at that they were all released that way, but also you have to remember that it was like the first time they were adding a class, and they absolutely needed to make sure it was going to hit, and boy did it hit. But yeah.
Well, we do still have a few more classes to get to, so before you all get to revel in Priest, I get to have some fun here with Rogue first.
Yes, why don't you introduce us to the Rogue set?
So, Rogue is pirates, which a lot of people don't like pirate Rogue stuff, but I do. So, we're gonna kick it off with the doozy of a pirate, Shoplifter Goldbeard. After you summon a pirate, summon a copy of it that attacks a random enemy, then dies. Very important that this says summon, because, there's just a little effect here. You've got Water Cannon, 4-mana 3/3 weapon. After your hero attacks, summon a 1/1 pirate that attacks a random enemy. Okay, cool. So, you'll get an additional 1/1 pirate that'll attack a random enemy, then dies. The fact that they die after Shoplifter Goldbeard's effect is actually kind of important as well, because that it makes space so you can keep doing this. But you've got also Bargain Bin Buccaneer, 3-mana 3/2 rush combo, summon a copy of this. So that would, if you played it in the same turn as Shoplifter Goldbeard, you would get the regular ones, and then you would summon 2 more that attack immediately.
And just like, can we just take a second to point out that if this was like any other set, this would be like in contention for best art of the set, except for that the set is just like such good art, but it's a Volpera making a getaway in a shopping cart, Jackass style. It is absolutely delightful.
Yeah. And then they have a miniaturize pirate, 5-mana 4/3 Sandbox Scoundrel, miniaturize, battlecry your next card this turn costs 3 less. So that can get pretty crazy pretty quickly, particularly when you consider the fact that you can shadow step this, because there's always that little asterisk on everything in Rogue, right? So,
and you have no draw problems because
yeah, exactly. So if you play something that costs 3 or less, then shadow step it, then you can hold on to that and do it in the same turn as Shoplifter Goldbeard. You play a thing that costs 3 or less for free, a pirate, and then you play the miniaturize of this, and then you play another thing that costs 3 or less for free. So there's a lot of ways that you can just be summoning pirates and getting copies that attack face immediately. It's going to be a good time.
And there's a toy boat, 2-mana 2/3. After you summon a pirate, draw a card. So if you need to refill, you can refill. You can also dig for treasure, draw a minion. If it's a pirate, get a coin. The Crystal Cove, 3-mana 3 durability location. The next minion you summon this turn has its stats set to 4/4. So you summon a little 1/1. Now it's a 4/4. Then you get a copy of that 4/4 with Goldbeard if you have him out. Also, the art on Crystal Cove, it's like the cove from Rogue Past, but it's like a toy. It's the Crystal Caverns.
Yeah.
It's the Crystal Caverns, but it's like a toy kiddie pool with like an inflatable palm tree. It's very good. This feels, it's pirates, but it feels like very Rogue in the sense that we're playing a million cards in a turn, summoning a lot of things, they're doing damage right away. It's not just a curbstone type of minion type deck. It doesn't look like.
And there's also Sonya Water Dancer, who of course is a reference to Sonya Shadow Dancer, I think her name was.
Yep.
Who was the classic quest rogue legendary where it wasn't in the initial ones, but later versions, I believe.
Yeah, it was a later edition. Yeah.
Yeah. That whenever one of your minions died, I believe, you got a 1/1 copy. And so this was how you would complete the quest very, very quickly and then get, 1/1 versions to play afterwards. You used it with rush or charge minions. So this one, instead of a 3-mana 2/2, is a 4-mana 3/3. After you play a 1-cost card, get a copy of it that costs 0. The ever spooky costs 0. So that will be any of the miniaturize things. And we'll have to see what other 1/1 things. It's 1-cost card, not just minions as well.
And it looks at the cost that you're playing it for. So after you play Azurite Scorpion, those spells usually cost 1. And so I believe you will get copies of those. So enjoy that or don't.
Also, it could be Bounce Around's time to shine finally, because
no, it's never Bounce Around.
Never Bounce Around. If Bounce Around ever has a time to shine, it's when you get to play it twice for 1 mana. Although, yeah, you also have to play Sonya Water Dancer that turn. Then you have to play Bounce Around. That gets awkward pretty fast.
Say Sonya is your only non-pirate in a pirate rogue, and you go dig for treasure, and then you get a 0-cost dig for treasure that gives you a coin. You net mana on that interaction.
Now you're playing Battlegrounds Pirates at the end of
that's true.
Exactly.
We don't have to get super greedy with Sonya for her to be a really good play. But if you want to combo her with something like the Azurite Scorpion, then you get to play every spell twice, basically.
Well, it's the kind of thing that, I imagine you'll use in a bunch of different rogue decks in various ways. Is just, in combination with the Azurite Scorpion in the Excavate rogue decks, or just in, the pirate one, way of generating more coins or other utility things. Rogue both has decent numbers of 1-cost spells, and anything that costs 3 and can be a shadow step trait can become a thing you use with this as well. So there's a lot of options.
So I know it's 9 mana, but this with Wishing Well is kind of gross.
No. Well,
yeah.
I mean, you can just hold on to them, right? You do the Wishing Well turn, you don't play all of them, and then see?
And now you've played a Countess. Congratulations.
There's lots of ways of getting good use out of Sonya Water Dancer. So, I'm excited to explore. One last card I wanted to talk about is Everything Must Go, which is finally I don't know if I would call this a miracle card so much as a 7s card. 8 mana, summon 2 random 4-cost minions, cost 1 less for each card you've drawn this turn. Of course, if you have played the Lucky 7s or whatever it's called, then you have drawn 8 cards and it's free. So,
assuming you haven't burned half of them, but
it's fine.
No, but I mean, the burn cards don't count towards drawn, is what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah, that's
pirate
not
cards
usually
seem
an issue.
Rogue's pretty good at getting rid of all of its cards, and it's right in the name. Everything must go out of my hand, onto the board. All of it. Yeah. It's really, I feel like it's assuming that you have board space after you vomit your hand onto the board for those 2 random 4-cost minions that you're summoning.
Yeah. So some people might not be excited for this kind of rogue stuff, but I think there's something there.
Yeah. It doesn't seem immediately broken, so that's probably going to make some people upset, but it seems like it might actually be healthy. So
Crystal Cove into Water Cannon is amazing. So
yeah, Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. It also
Yep.
works well with Bargain Bin Buccaneer because that summons a copy of itself with
Mhm.
Rush.
Right. So you'll get 2 4/4s in that case.
2 4/4s instead of 2 3/2s.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. And if you have Goldbeard out also, though that's later in the game, then you get 3 4/4s. That might be what you're doing on your third activation of Crystal Cove.
Are we gonna save it for last?
No, let's do it.
okay.
We'll do it in order. And
Okay.
and if I might,
Yes.
may I?
You may.
Mhm.
So, because this is the best preset we've gotten, and I can't remember how long. And
Ever?
it just kept getting. It might be ever, but it kept getting better as the day went on.
We'll have to see meta-wise, but it certainly feels like in terms of density in a single set,
Yeah.
this might be the best preset ever.
Yeah, it very, very well may. So we start with a board clear. Repackage, 7 mana epic spell, stuff all minions into a 2-cost box, then shuffle it into the opponent's deck. Welcome back, Psychic Scream. So Psychic Scream was basically this, except you shuffled all the minions back individually. This shuffles them all back. They do get them all back into their hand at once when they play the box, but the cards from the box go to hand, not board, hand. It's basically the Fizzle Snapshot.
You have to have room in
So,
your hand
yeah.
for those minions.
Yes.
It
If there are a bunch of 1/1s that you've generated, if they're a bunch of treants, you probably don't want them back. Plus, you get to shuffle. It does take anything that's on your side of the board as well, but sometimes that's good, sometimes it's bad. You cannot turn off Reno with this.
Unless you play 2 of them.
Unless you play 2 of them. The first one doesn't turn off Reno. So that's the one downside. But it's one of the best board clears we've gotten for. I mean, we're losing a bunch of good board clears, but this is one of the better board clears that we've gotten in a while, because Psychic Scream was a broken gross card.
Yeah, I told you. This is always what happens. It's oh no, Priest is losing all their board clears, and I'm sitting here sweating like, what are they gonna print? Something's gonna replace these.
We don't have Shard of the Naru, but this does, not trigger death rattles because it's stuffing them into a box.
Yeah. So then we get Papercraft Angel. 3 mana 2/5, your hero power costs 0. Okay. Well, why would we want our hero power to cost 0? Because then we got a 5/5 legend, a 5 mana 5/5 legendary called Raza the Resealed. Battle cry. For the rest of the game, your hero power refreshes whenever you draw a card.
Whenever you play.
Whenever you play a card. So this is a win condition for Priest, finally, for Control Priest. Certainly for Reno Priest, that's absolutely a thing. There are some more ambitious things that you could do with, say, Justicar and Kvaldirs that turn your next healing effect into damage. Sing Along Buddy is a card that we saw last week, which is a 2 mana minion that says your hero power triggers twice.
Not like the next time, but every time.
Every time
that you use it.
So
until they print something that says your healing effects deal damage again, I don't think there's realistically going to be any use that isn't Reno.
Hidonus.
Yeah.
Hidonus, you can get.
Hidonus, yeah.
If on turns. So there's a new card, Careless Crafter. Death Rattle, get 2 0-cost bandages that restore 3 health. It's a 3 mana 3/3. You have that. You have Funnel Cake. You have Sing Along Buddy and Hidonus. I mean, I was getting north of like 80, 90 damage in an ideal scenario, possibly more if you have all the bandages. Like in an ideal scenario, you can kill a control warrior, no problem. But you can, even on turn 7, if you have some bandages, you have maybe the heal location, and you have already played Raza, you play Hidonus, you play Papercraft Angel, you heal up the Hidonus. While you're doing that, you're sending, it's sending 5 attack things out. If you have a little more mana, you can play Sing Along Buddy. It triggers twice, so that counts as 2 heals on the Hidonus. So it does 2 5 damage pings. for the hero power. So I was absolutely sitting there in the deck lab forum going like, how do we build it? Now, draw for that is actually a bit of a problem. We did get a draw spell in Priest, which we'll talk about in a second. It has kind of with their other theme that they have going here. But we lost Cathedral. So having a kind of combo deck, there isn't a lot of draw going on in Priest, and you have tons of competition. Like, on the one hand, you kind of want to be like, let's build it with as few minions as possible, because then we can Creation Protocol, but like all of the things that combo with this are minions. So you still maybe want to play Creation Protocol or even Pendant just to have draw and to discover something that gives you a better chance to draw the piece that you need, but it's really hard to guarantee the tutor.
Yeah. And we lose Switcheroo also. Switcheroo would be the other way that you would do that. Yeah.
So I think there definitely could be a deck here, but when I first was like, oh, this is how much damage you can do, I was like, this is insane. And then I tried to Theorycraft it, and I'm like, okay, I'm a little bit less scared now. I do think it could still be a thing. And, you just do this with Reno in a Reno Priest. Like, that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, Reno Priest is like this. You just get if you get the Reno Priest hero power that refreshes, you don't even need Papercraft Angel, but if you get it, then you're actually like printing mana.
Yeah.
when you do this. So it gets kind of nutty. We also got a couple of like just generic utility things like Chalk Artist, Battlecry, draw a minion, transform it into a randomly legendary one, keeping the original stats and cost, whatever. That's not going to help you draw to your win con. It's just kind of a thing you can do. Maybe you run, I don't even think you run an Reno Priest. It's something you probably just get generated sometimes.
It's cute art though.
It is very cute art. And Purifying Power, which is a throwback to Purify from One Night in Karazhan, which was the original Priest Freakout, and the flavor text is actually a reference to one of Frodan's comments at that reveal. But Purifying Power is a 2-mana holy spell, silence all friendly minions that give them +1/+2. So Purify was a spell that was like just silence a minion and draw a card. This actually does something. So, and
it has a unicorn. It is the Unicorn Priest. And apparently I missed this at the time, even though it was like the one time that I like got salty and posted on the internet that I was salty was Purify, because I was like a priest person. And I'm like, how could they print this for us? We're doing so poorly anyway. So apparently there was a video that was like a whole Yu-Gi-Oh parody with Ben Brode as the main character being like, it was like Ben Brode Jr., I will play my grandfather's cards, the Unicorn Priest. And Kripparrian was, the evil villain. He's like curving out, this is a curved deck, you will never beat me. And then after only drawing silences, what do I do with these silences? His minions just have big stats. He draws a Purifying Power card that has basically this art. It's the rainbow unicorn that says, if your opponent's minions are silenced, win the game. So So I had not seen that. Thank you, Mad-at-Arms, for posting that video so that I could see it. I was like, how did I miss this at the time?
I missed that too. I don't know how I missed that either. But so the other nostalgic priest that some people might want to play would be Dragon Priest. And boy, did we get some Dragon Priest cards.
Yes.
So we got Scale Replica. First of all, love the name and the art. Scale Replica is a 2-mana spell. Draw your lowest and highest cost dragon. You have Fly Off the Shelves, which is a 4-mana spell. Deal 1 damage to all enemy minions. Repeat for each dragon you're holding. By the way, there is a raunchy video for this, which is you absolutely should watch, both because it gave me a lot of catharsis from a priest actually beating a rogue for once after they played a cavalcade of nonsense. But also he starts with a gift wrap whelp, and the gift wrap whelp is just in the box the whole time, like attacking from inside the box.
It's like can't break out. Yeah.
But as far as dragons that you might want to play, well, there's Clay Matriarch, which is 6 mana 3/7, miniaturize, taunt, death rattle, summon a 4/4 whelp with elusive. So that's a lot of stats. Even the 1/1 is still a taunt that still gives you another 4/4. And why might you want to summon a whole bunch of dragons in the game, you might ask? Well, there's Timewinder Zarimi, which is a 5-mana 4/6 dragon. Battle cry, once per game. We have the technology. Once per game, if you've summoned 5 other dragons, take an extra turn.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know what exactly I want to do with that, but I have a lot of ideas, and they are all very interesting and relevant to my interests.
So for me, it's a non-Elise Reno Priest with Raza and dragons and Timewinder Zarimi. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you run Elise just because
You could run Elise. I mean, getting an extra Clay Matriarch is not the worst thing in the world. You probably run the 2/8 Divine Shield, Taunt, Lifesteal.
Yeah.
Just because it's also a decent hit off the Elise, and you're also still summoning more dragons when you do that, because you really want to get to 5, and there aren't that many good dragons that you want to play ultimately. Like, you start looking at like the dragons that are going to be left in standard, especially with, you really want Scale Replica to hit Clay Matriarch. You don't want to have anything that's much more expensive than that. The only thing I can think of that you might want to run is Original Alex is coming back. So maybe that's part of your combo, but other than that, you really want to hit Clay Matriarch to make sure that you can get the Timewinder online. And if you're running anything, like, you don't really want to run like a Malagos or a like Old Ysera or whatever. You probably just want Clay Matriarch to be at the top of that. But there aren't that many great dragons that are going to be left in standard. Like Time Lost Proto Drake probably makes the cut just because it's 2 dragons in 1.
Yeah.
But like Starlight Whelp, maybe. I mean, Gift Wrap Whelp, first of all, again, because he's adorable, but also it has other dragon synergy. Gift Wrap Whelp, I don't even think we talked about it last week, other than the art, but it's a 1-mana 2/1 with Battle Cry. If you're holding a dragon, give it and this minion +1/+1, so it's effectively a Flame Imp that buffs another dragon. But like, there, I'm not sure. Like, Origami Dragon seems iffy. Maybe you run it anyway in a Highlander deck. Stone Drake seems like reasonable.
I mean, the buff to Sarah wouldn't be so bad, right? If you Elise pull that and you get 2 dream cards, one of which could be the 4-mana 7/6. Like, now that those are back to their old versions, all of those are pretty solid, and you get 2 of them.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
in general, just whatever I can do, just activate this. I just want to do that, because if you can go Timewinder Zarimi, Papercraft Angel, and the 2-mana 1/4 that says your hero power activates twice, and that's your, turn 1, right? Zarimi activates, you go to next turn, you have a full turn's worth of mana to do Reno hero power shenanigans.
And hit face with your minions that are there for a little bit of extra.
Yeah.
If they can't hit the face, you use your board clear. Fly off the shelves as a new board clear if you have dragons in your hand. You can use the Whelp Wrangler that gives you dragons into your hand to get more dragons.
Yeah, you can, but yeah, it's kind of mid. So
that would just be really to activate Zarimi. Well, and it gives you 1-mana things to play to get your Reno hero power to refresh.
Yeah, and it makes Fly Off the Shelves do more damage. So maybe that's relevant.
Yeah, and doesn't mess with your Scale Replica draw. So yeah, maybe we're doing stuff like that. Regardless, I'm super terrified. Terrified and excited to some extent. This is like actually a priest deck that I like, is Raza Priest, because I could not play it. My laptop just could not handle the actions needed to be input for that deck when it was, first coming around. I remember doing the rat race and like everyone was playing Raza Priest, and I was like, I can't play this deck. I have to play something else. And yeah, so getting to kind of have that again in standard rather than wild will be interesting. And just extra chaotic because of the Reno bullets. And some of those are going to be better than others. Like, I'm just imagining casting this and like someone's about to die and they roll the gain armor, right? and just have a turn of like hero power refreshes where they gain, a crap ton of armor. or get the they really need it to have enough damage, and they roll the arcane bullet that refreshes and just have infinite mana.
Yeah. Or they get discover a spell, right? Because that, and then just like
Fuel
keep
itself.
discovering cheap things. Doesn't matter what it is. Kind of like when you're playing Energy Shaper Mage now, and you just like pick whatever's cheap off of Vast Wisdom because you just want to turn into something else. Like, I don't care what this is. I just want to keep getting other things to be able to keep hitting them in the face.
Yeah. I think the worst one is going to be the draw card, because you're already likely to be a draw heavy deck as much as you can be. And so there'll be situations where you're like, I can't draw more cards because I'm going to fatigue.
Yeah. I mean, especially because like you could get Shattered Reflections off of the I don't know what Shattered Reflections, I guess. Oh no, it wouldn't do anything for Sing Along Buddy because it says twice, not an extra time, right?
Yeah, twice.
The only thing I would think you would want is like, just for the purpose of shuffling another Papercraft Angel into your deck.
Yeah.
You can get more Clay Matriarchs, not on the same turn that you play her, though.
They were very intentional about some of these pieces, right? Like Zarini saying once per game, they're like, yeah, we're going to nip that one in the bud. Priest can get copies of minions, no problem. We don't need them just taking infinite turns.
Also relevant to that discover a spell situation, both 0 costs priest spells are rotating out, and we're not getting any new ones. So it will actually cost you mana, at least for the time being, until they print more 0 cost.
Well, that's nice.
That's something, at least. Hey, but at least when you have to cast a priest mirror, it'll end. So,
look, I'm excited. I told you there were not many priest things that could get me excited, particularly when they showed the resurrect stuff for core. Yeah. But this has me excited. So
this is pretty exciting. I mean, the one way that you can cheat the mana is with Funnel Cake. That costs you mana but gains you the mana back.
Yeah.
But you do have to have a mana to play the Funnel Cake, which is actually relevant sometimes. But I think this is like the one priest set that can get all three of us excited about priest.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
the question is going to be, do you actually play a Highlander, or because Raza doesn't require a Highlander, unlike previous Raza.
Yeah.
So do you just play a deck of duplicates and either not care about Reno's Battlecry because you just want the hero power that deals damage, or be a turbo draw to try and activate it?
Yeah, you don't actually need to be a Highlander deck just to get the hero power. You just need to be able to play an 8 mana, do nothing without dying. Like, that's the reason that it's good in a Highlander deck, is because you can play the thing that the board clear is good, but you need the board clear in order to be able to get the hero power without just like dying immediately.
Mm-hmm. But repackage.
You can't play Repackaged and Reno on the same turn unless you're rogue somehow.
No, but like there will be a lot of cases where it doesn't matter.
It'll depend on how much draw we can get in. That is a deck where Scaled Replica will help you, and that helps a lot. If you get Crimson Clergy going, you can draw like crazy in Priest. It's just a matter of getting Crimson. As someone who played a lot with Crimson Clergy draw decks, that's very Feast or Famine.
Mm-hmm.
So you want other draw options for sure.
One other thing, just because you're already not upset enough about Repackage, is that Baleful Banker is still a card that's in Standard. So theoretically, you could play the Repackage and then discover and steal the box out of their deck.
I can't think of why that. I feel like in a lot of scenarios that actually wouldn't be very good, but I suppose there would be some where it'd be really obnoxious. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a thing you can plan for, but it is something that will be on a highlight reel at some point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, we only have one more class left to discuss. We've actually been quite quick about this.
Yeah.
Done well. So
Mage is both a theme about puzzles, and the cards seem to be kind of puzzles.
Cards are a puzzle. So we'll start with the legendary. the Galactic Projection Orb. It is a 10 mana legendary arcane spell. Recast a random spell of each cost you've cast this game, targets enemies if possible. So a couple clarifications on this. First of all, it works on the base cost of the spell, not what you paid for it. It will not cast itself. It also casts from the pool of spells that you cast this game, not like, oh, I cast Fireball so I get any random 4-mana spell. It's, I will get specifically Fireball back if that was the only one. It's like Magister Dawngrasp, but Magister Dawngrasp, the hero was for spell schools, so it's like that, but for costs. So it'll look at all of the 2-mana spells that you played and pick one of them and send it at enemies, if possible. So you do get some curation of what this is casting. It's not just a complete Yogg box. That is a separate card in this set. Also, the Projection Orb will only cast spells that you cast, that you played. It will not echo the spells from the Puzzle Master Khadgar Wisdom Ball that you may remember from when the reveals, the first day of reveals, which is the weapon that casts helpful mage spells. The ball and the orb are sworn enemies, to quote Hat. So they don't work together. But yes, the Galactic Projection Orb, thankfully it will not cast itself. Otherwise, it would just always be an endless loop. That just wouldn't make any sense. But it might cast like a Sunset Volley if you cast that.
Well, it wouldn't necessarily always be an endless loop unless you manage to play it a second time. Right? Because it wouldn't be in the pool until after it finishes resolving.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, but even then, like, let's not. Let's not even open the door. Also, Prison of Yogg-Saron will also not count for this, similar to how the orb works, or similar to how the Wisdom Ball works, rather.
So I don't know exactly what we're doing with this, but the fact that it targets enemies and that you can curate it. I mean, if their board is clear, then you can be fairly certain that this does a lot of damage if you've cast certain types of spells. I assume that it's a random order, so you can't assume that it'll do the board clear first if you played a board clear.
Yeah, I would imagine it is, yeah.
It seems like a slow way to kill someone.
So, Sunset Volley is, of course, the 10 that you're going to be doing. Deal 10 damage randomly split among all enemies, summon a random 10 cost minion. Of course, at 3, it's basically like whatever is the best secret is what you would most want, I think. At 2,
Counterspell.
Cryopreservation would be a good one because it freezes an enemy and excavates. There is one out of this set that I suppose would be in there, which I don't love. At 8 mana, cast 5 random spells. If your deck has no minions, the spells cast cost 5 or more.
Say the name of the card, Edel.
Yogg in the box. Yeah. So you can play Yogg in the box to put it in your projection orb.
And Yogg in the box could cast an orb. So you could you could ping pong back and forth. It's unlikely, but it's possible to ping pong back and forth that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there is a few cards with this no minions theme. So we also have Manufacturing Errors, 6 mana, draw 3 cards. If your deck has no minions, they cost 3 less. And we have Spot the Difference, 4 mana spell, discover a 3-cost minion to summon. If your deck has no minions, repeat this. But then they also gave us some minions in this set. They gave us a couple of 3 elementals. Triple Wick Trickster is a 4-mana 2/3 battlecry, deal 2 damage to a random enemy 3 times. Watercolor Artist is a 4-mana 4/4 battlecry, draw a frost spell at the start of your turns, reduce its cost by 1. There is a clarification on there. It's not the Watercolor Artist itself on the board that's reducing the cost. On the battlecry, when you draw the spell, that spell is like enchanted to keep losing cost. So the Watercolor Artist can die, but if you still hold on to the frost spell, it will keep reducing.
That's way better. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So think of it like getting out immolated, except that instead of getting more on fire, it gets cheaper.
So that is not, it is not tied to the artist itself. You have to separate the art from the artist. Also to quote Hat.
Of course.
And we got a new frost spell that could be something that you're drawing with that Frost Lich Cross Stitch, which is a I assume a reference to Frost Lich Jaina because it says deal 4 damage to a character. If it dies, summon a 3/6 water elemental that freezes. It's 5 mana to start with.
Spell version of her hero power.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the hero power only did 1, but yeah.
Well, to start, it only did 1.
Sure. But yeah, I mean, that would be a decent thing to draw off watercolor artists and have start discounting, right? That'd be good. There's not a ton of other frost spells I would be terribly interested in hitting with the artist.
I mean, cryopreservation, right? Like that's probably the other one you'd want. I mean, you could get Soul Freeze. I mean, I don't know how great Soul Freeze is in general, but it's a thing you could get from it.
Ice Barrier.
The frost spells you want are rotating, right? Like Cold Case and Frozen Touch, those are rotating. So we're not, and Deathborn too.
And Solid Alibi, thankfully.
Yeah. But we'll get more frost spells, right? Like, I mean, this is the first set of the year. It's gonna be with us for 2 years. We're gonna get other frost spells. It'll be useful. You know, it may not be useful right off the bat, but there will be a point where we have frost spells.
Yeah. Well, and it'll be still relevant for like a Galactic Protection Orb deck to have a bunch of different spell schools, because you probably want your 7 to be the thing that summons 4 or 5s.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Yogg in the Box is a shadow spell.
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you're probably playing Void Scripture at that point.
You probably
are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Void Scripture is a pretty good 2 to get also.
You know what's just extra salt in the wound is the fact that Yogg in the Box costs 8, which means if you play a Void Scripture on 10, it will auto cast the Yogg in the Box. And then they'll have 8 mana left to play another Yogg in the Box. I am displeased.
And it's also going to be the only 8 cost spell that Mage has access to. So if they do play Yogg in the Box, it will 100% get cast out of the orb.
That is true. Even Arcane Defenders, that was March of the Lich King. Not that they would be playing that anyway.
Yeah.
Star Power is also a good one, right? For 5 mana.
Yep.
That would be pretty good. You'd want to hit that.
Yeah, the orb, it's hard to, unless they have it's hard to put something together that guarantees that you're killing with that, but you're probably clearing, you're making a board. You're probably doing some damage to their face.
Yeah, just Yogg things, basically.
And Yogg things. You're probably clearing, making a board, and then clearing your own board, and then drawing cards into Fatigue, and then... Except that's always what I kind of hope that these things will do, and then they only do that to me, and then my opponents always get the nuts. That's just how it works.
Actually, do you want a Secret at 3, or do you want a Forged Molten Rune at 3?
Well, I guess it always goes at enemies.
At an enemy.
Honestly, I think anything under 5 is going to be who knows, because you generally play so many cheap spells in a game, particularly if you are playing a deck of only spells. It's just going to be a toss-up what you cast on the low end, and it's not until you get to your 5s and above where you can have some consistency in terms of what you're going to play. Manufacturing error does seem pretty solid. It's like a Skull of Gul'dan for only playing spells. So that's pretty good.
It does seem a little bit fairer than Refreshing Spring Water. I will say that much.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't love this direction for Mage. I'm not the biggest fan. There are a couple of elementals, so maybe that will add to a potential elemental mage. But now that they've taken Aegwynn out of core, I don't know. That's kind of lost its luster for me. Although with Frozen Touch going away, I guess there'd be less benefit there as well.
We did also get Sleet Skater, 5 mana, 3/4 elemental, miniaturize, battle cries, freeze an enemy minion, gain armor equal to its attack.
That does seem quite good.
Yeah. Also, we're getting Frostbolt back, by the way. So, like, Watercolor Art is pulling, if the only Frost spell that you have is Frostbolt,
Yeah.
and you're doing Sif, then having a 0 mana Frostbolt for when you're going to go off with Sif could be a thing.
Yeah, that's true.
That is true. That is a good point. I will say one card that I'm not excited about in this set is Hidden Objects. 2 mana, discover a secret, set its cost to 1.
At least Objection is gone, so that's better.
Yes, that helps significantly.
And I mean, you're paying 3 mana for discover a secret rather than putting the secret in your deck, ultimately. Like, I mean, you don't have to play it that turn, but ultimately you're still paying 3 mana for a secret. You're just paying 3 mana for give me 1 of 3 secrets that might be relevant right now, as opposed to putting a secret hard in your deck.
What's more that people are going to infinitize the Maxitude and be like, I'll take a Hidden Objects to, like, try and roll a secret. So, yeah, that with Objection gone, it will be substantially better, but random secrets are always obnoxious.
Yeah.
I don't really know what Mage is going to do. There's a lot of interesting stuff here in terms of, like, Khadgar and some of the All Spells cards. Really, really not thrilled about the Ugg in the Box, but I will just have to take solace in the fact that sometimes they're going to play Wheel of Death.
And they're more likely to in a no minion deck, honestly, because they're only going to be playing spells that cost 5 or less, 5 or more, and there are considerably fewer of those. Mm-hmm. So if I'm looking at all standard right now, it's 92, and like a bunch of those are rotating.
Yeah, but
right.
Yeah, a little under half of those are rotating.
We don't need to get into the math about it. It's gonna happen, and that'll at least feel nice. So
yeah.
But that is going to wrap it up for this card overview of the set. We're gonna get to see. We'll have all the cards next week, right?
Yeah, we'll have all the cards by next week, so we'll be able to evaluate everything, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So
we have many folks we'd like to thank. Check out our thanks section on the website at Concede.com, where you can also find our contact info, our show notes, and our Patreon information. You can monetarily support our show at patreon.com/Concede. Join us every week live by following us on Twitch at twitch.concede.com. Join our community chats in our Discord at discord.concede.com. And write into our email at coinconcede@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at CoinConcede, as well as like, share, follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/CoinConcede. If you would like some CC swag, head on over to our shop at shop.coinconcede.com. Big thanks to our producers, Number Theory, Crash, Beef Squatch, David P., Walu, Jeremy T., Bottle Caps, Grumpy Monk, The Burger Club, Kirk Regan, Forgiven One, Grizzly Bear, Grand Arcanum, and Tyler Knife, our newest producer. He's new for me, because this is my first one back. So, thank you to all of you, and Coin Concedes.
I will coin concede to Panacea, who is a regular in the Discord, for getting their PhD in experimental mathematics, which Wicked said, is that what we're calling energy shaper mage these days? But very exciting. Congratulations. And also just coin concede to the devs for the nostalgia and the flavor on this set. I think it's definitely up there for me in terms of just favorite flavor art. Flavor text on the cards consistently hitting really high for me. So, and just being really cute. I'm a sucker for the Hearthstone whimsy, and as someone who never played a lot of World of Warcraft, I'm more interested in the sort of Hearthstone original themes, and so I'm very much enjoying all of the reveals and cards for this set and really excited about it.
Yeah. I've gotten to an age where I'm unashamed to admit that I'm just in it for cute things at this point, and there is a lot of that in this set. So yeah, even the whelp that comes out of the matriarch is adorable, and I will coin concede to Linny for absorbing all of my pre-shade that I have been throwing at her on Twitter over the past couple of days. Because she's been protesting about anything priest related, and I have been mercilessly asking when she's going to be playing it. So to the disgust of all of her hunter comrades. So I'm also going to quick concede to Ben Hearthstone once again for providing the set graphics that collect all the cards into one nicely packaged up piece that we can put up on the stream, which makes it a lot easier to just show the whole set at once rather than having to flip through individual cards back and forth and probably break my keyboard in the process. So as always, thanks to him. You should be following him on Twitter because he is first of all, he's a delight, and also he posts a lot of news at the moment that it is available. So you will get late breaking news from Ben fairly often on Twitter.
Well, I am going to concede to... Oh, how should we do this time? I guess we'll say Cloud Strife and Tifa and Barrett and...
Oh, gosh.
So
we moved on from Baldur's Gate to Final Fantasy is what you're saying.
I have, indeed. We'll be getting the new expansion soon, but until that time, I will be spending all of my hours with my good friends, the crew of Final Fantasy VII. I still need to progress far enough until I get Vincent, who was always my favorite character growing up, because I was, an edgy kid, of course. But yeah, I am super happy with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It's been a blast. I think it's got a really fun combat system that if I were less lazy with memorization, I would be better at. But it's got so many different elements. Like it does the JRPG thing of like, yeah, there's like the main gameplay, but there's also like mini games all over the place, and like there's a card game within the game. There's a board game within the game. There's all kinds of other random mini games that you encounter and can engage with over the course of playing, which sometimes can be annoying because you just want to progress a thing, but other times it's just like kind of a nice little break from the regular gameplay. So it's been a blast, and oh my god, this game is massive. Like it's 170 gigs or something.
Yeah, it's I'm gonna let you play that one first.
I don't usually buy games that are like new. I wait for them to go on sale, pick them up a couple years later. But I was just like, you know what? I didn't play Remake when it was new because I couldn't. This time, I'm doing it, and it's incredible.
Wow. Well, all I know is that they announced a release date for Trails Through Daybreak in July, and I don't think I'm going to be there by then, but I want to be there before I want to be able to get there before the sequel to Trails Through Daybreak comes out. So I don't think I'm gonna have time for Final Fantasy for a little while.
You are never going to be done with this series, are you?
I'm nearly done with Trails to Azure, which means that I get to go back to Cold Steel too. So yeah,
what's going to be tough is going from this to then finally finishing up Elden Ring, because the DLC for that is coming in June.
Oh yeah, I'm tapping out of that one. I'm not. I tried to play Elden Ring, it didn't go well. I'm not going there. That's a bonus episode in the making, but that's going to do it for us for this week. So until next time, keep calm and blessings to you. And if you see us on ladder, coin concede.
Coin concede.
Coin concede.
All life must end. I yield for now.
I concede.
Well fought.
I concede.
You win this one.
The victory is yours.
You have bested me.
I give up.
You win this one, friend.
You win this time.
Choose death.